Chapter number 55, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala says, Babu fadl al-zuhdi fi dunya wal-hathi ala taqallul minha wa fadl al-faqr. The excellence of practicing abstinence and asceticism in the worldly life, and the encouragement to take as little, to use as little, to eat, to drink, to save, to hoard as little as you possibly can. And the virtue and the excellence of poverty. The encouragement to abstain from the dunya and to take and use as little as you possibly can. And the merit, the virtue, the reward of being poor. A very important chapter, a chapter that each and every one of us needs, starting with myself before anybody else. And that is taking what's necessary, using what's necessary, and not abusing your desires, alaykum salam to Allah, and abusing your pleasures and your indulgences. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to sleep, you have to make money, you have to pay bills. You have to put a smile on your children's face, but then there's a level or step in which we abuse that. We go too far. Making money, saving money, spending money, trying to please ourselves, pleasing others, etc., etc., etc. That's a big problem. So the author of Nawawi rahimahullah in this chapter is trying to push us and steer us away from the opposite. And of course, that's a very momentous topic, zuhud, and the hayatul dunya, and that's a topic that we've spoken on in many classes and many lectures before. But the last part of the chapter, he says the excellence of poverty. For a Muslim to be poor, there is a virtue in that. And of course, a poor Muslim having a virtue, it doesn't just mean that just because he's poor, he has a virtue. But it's the poor Muslim who's content. It's the poor Muslim who doesn't beg. It's the poor Muslim who doesn't turn towards haram things. And it isn't the poor Muslim who's failed at chasing the dunya. The poor Muslim who outwardly seems to be poor and pleased, but only Allah knows what's in that person's heart of greed and of lust for the dunya. And the moment he or she gets the opportunity or the authority or the chance, they do it just as worse, just as bad. But it's the Muslim who's poor because of circumstance or choice. And he's okay with it. I'll be patient, I won't beg, I won't ask. And I'm not greedy at heart. Fantasizing about the dunya at heart, nor am I someone who's failed at being successful, and because I'm a loser, because I'm poor, so therefore I get a virtue. La, laysa hakadha. It's not like that. But it's a Muslim who suffices himself. Once more, the Muslim who has the opportunity to have businesses, or has the opportunity to make money, to have houses and properties and land, but he says, I'll suffice myself with this house, with this car, with this van, and this amount of money. Alhamdulillah, that's all I need. Or the Muslim who may be poor because of, he's just poor. He's not from the nobility, or he's not a wealthy, affluent person, but he's okay with that. I'm pleased, I go to sleep thankful, I wake up grateful. Alhamdulillah, that's all I need. All right, that's the type of person that receives reward, and not a person who lost his money at the casino. Not someone that went broke. Not someone who did a poor business deal and it didn't work out for him. He says, well, now I want to be a zahid. I want to be poor. Nah, that's not it. Because the heart still has the same greed for the dunya. All right, and that's a very important concept to understand these ayat and understand these ahadith. Tayyib. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned several ayats from the Quran Kareem, several. And we'll mention a few of them. قال الله تعالى إنما مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض مما يأكل الناس والأنعام حتى إذا أخذت الأرض زخرفها وزينت وظن أهلها أنهم قادرون عليها أتاها أمرنا ليلا أو نهارا فجعلناها حصيدا كأن لم تغن بالأمس كذلك نفصل الآيات لقوم يتفكرون. The first ayah is from chapter 10, Yunus. Verse 24, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, and the example of this worldly life the similitude, the likeness of this hayat dunya is nothing more than rain. Water that we have sent down from the heavens, from the sky, from the clouds. فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ. And this water turns into mud with the soil, with the dirt. It mixes with the earth. It mixes with the ground. مِمَّا يَأْكُلُ النَّاسُ وَالْأَنْعَامُ. From that which the people eat and animals eat. Meaning plants, vegetables, things grow. Cows, chickens, all of these things, they need water and they eat grain, they eat grass, they eat things from the earth. Allah says, until when the earth takes all of its beauty, it's beautiful, the spring, the summer, the smells, the colors, the feels, everything looks so beautiful. You have a garden, it looks amazing. Okay, وَزَيَّنَتْ. And the earth is so beautiful, and the people, وَظَنَّ أَهْلُهَا أَنَّهُمْ قَادِرُونَ عَلَيْهَا. The inhabitants of the earth, the humans, they think and they feel that they are the masters of the earth. They're in charge of the earth. Listen to the Quran and think about 2022. The people, they think and they feel that they're the ones that are dominating and controlling what's going on. The environment, politics, safety, war, peace, money, finance, etc., etc. Muslims, non-Muslims. They think that they're in control and they're running things. أَتَاهَا أَمْرُنَا لَيْلًا أَوْ نَهَارًا. Our command, our punishment, it comes. We send it. We can send it in the daytime or we can send it in the nighttime. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, and we've turned the earth حَصِيدًا كَأَن لَّمْ تَغْنَ بِالْأَمْسِ. Everything is mowed down, cut down, removed, gone, vanished. It's over as if it didn't exist yesterday. As if it wasn't beautiful and sweet and pleasing. Okay? Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, thus do we make signs clear for men who think. Thus do we make examples for men who use their minds. The next ayah, قال تعالى وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَاءٍ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ فَأَصْبَحَ هَشِيمًا تَذْرُهُ الرِّيَاحُ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says from Surah Al-Kahf, and make an example for them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Make a parable, a similitude, a likeness of the worldly life. Once more, it's like water, it's like rain that comes down from the sky. It mixes with the herbage and the vegetation of the earth, and then it turns into something which is cut down and broken. It's no longer standing up anymore. تَذْرُهُ الرِّيَاحُ. And the wind blows it and pushes it in all directions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He has full omnipotence over all things. He is muqtadir. He has the power over all things. Allah then says, wealth and children are the beauty of the life of this world. But good deeds that remain are better. The good deeds that don't go away, that don't age, that don't vanish, that don't betray you, they are better. باقيات الصالحات. With Allah, they are better. وقال تعالى اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. And he mentions another ayah here from Surah Al-Hadid with regards to the worldly life and its likeness and its similitude. Now, one of the Salaf al-Salih, he was asked, مَا زَهَدَكَ فِي الدُّنْيَا. What causes you to abstain from the worldly life so much? What's the thing that's pushed you away from enjoying and having fun and indulging and doing what everyone else is doing? And this is over 1,400 years ago now. This is in the time of the Salaf, 1,300, 1,200 years ago. So he said three things. He says, in order, give or take, he said, قِلَّةُ وَفَائِهَا وَكَثْرَةُ جَفَائِهَا وَخِسَّةُ شُرَكَائِهَا. Three things. He says, number one is the lack of loyalty. Number two is the abundance of treachery. And number three is the low nature of the people who go after it. Think about these 3 points. Think about your son, your daughter, your wife, your employee, your coworker. You may serve someone for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You may love someone with all of your heart and they cheat on you. You may treat someone like a brother and he stabs you in the back. You may work hard, bust your hump, break your back, and next day someone fires you. You may be the best and kindest neighbor, and your neighbors, they first opportunity they get, they steal from you. They do something wrong against you, etc., etc., etc. You raise someone as your student, like your son. You nurture that person. Like a woman breastfeeds a child, that's how you nurture this talib. You teach him everything that he knows, and the moment he thinks that he's memorized a little bit, he knows a little bit, he then talks about you and refutes you. There's not a lot of loyalty in the dunya, and there's a lot of treachery, and there's a lot of roughness, jaffa. It's harsh, it's fragile. A little tiny baby shot, hit by a stray bullet. Okay, people that are pious and righteous, they suffer, they go through so much. It's rough, it's crude. And last but not least, the people of the dunya, look at them. Just think about politics. Muslim, non-Muslim, all the same. Think about it. They stab each other in the back, they lie, they backbite, they slander, brown-nosing people, suck-ups, kiss-ups. Just think what they'll do anything for power and status. Think about the masjids. How many masjids in which they're fighting? How many masjids in which they overthrow the administration, they overthrow the imam? The Muslims fight like dogs over a masjid, a building. Imagine if they were in charge, if New York said, here, you Muslims, you guys can have the borough of Queens. What would Queens look like? What would New York City look like if the Muslims were in charge, let alone a whole country? Muslims can't agree on an Eid. Your imam is supposed to give the khutbah, but our imam, he has to talk first. You guys are maintaining the khutbah, we collect the money. We're not doing it with you. Can't even agree on the color of mud. You can't agree on the color of water. You can't agree on the color of the sky. And the people who go after the dunya, they're low people. They're liars, they're backstabbers, they're cheaters. They're not noble people. There may be a noble leader. There may be someone who has some honor, some integrity, but he's not from the shuraka of the dunya. He's not chasing it and running after it. He's given a status and then that's it. But if you look at people of politics, people of the worldly affairs, you sit around them for 5-10 minutes, it's like, no thanks. And that's why many people, they've relinquished status and power. Many people, because they had a taste of it, they realized that it really wasn't anything. And one of the biggest examples of this, one of the most popular examples of this is Buddha. He's rich, he's royal, and he left all of that. He relinquished everything that his father wanted to give him because it wasn't pleasing to him. It didn't do nothing for his mind, it didn't do nothing for his soul. Him being in a palace and when someone's washing his feet, brushing his teeth for him, bringing him food, tray after tray after tray after tray after tray after tray. The most beautiful, pleasing women, etc. Okay, it's fun, it's nice, but then it gets bored, it gets tiring. And then there are people who pose as friends, as advisors, as an entourage, but they're only looking out for their own benefit. And the moment he doesn't serve their benefit, they'll set up an assassination. They'll set up a coup d'etat. They'll get rid of him. They'll throw him in the street like a dog. The moment he is saying, well, let's get rid of the corruption. Let's look after the orphans. Let's give the poor people what they deserve. Let's change this rule. And if you don't believe that, just look at history. A leader comes in, he tries to reform, he tries to change. What do they do to him? Set him up, frame him. They try to say he was caught in this, he was caught doing this, he was doing this, he was doing that, so on and so forth. And the closest, most trusted bodyguard was the one who handed him the cassette recorder before he got on the helicopter. Right? I'm talking about a real life example. His most trusted bodyguard, most trusted one that was most faithful, was the one that they bought. And before this leader was getting on the helicopter to go to travel to another country in South America, he said, oh, wait a second, you forgot this. You need this to listen to, you'll be bored on a helicopter ride. And bang, killed him, assassinated him for money. So the hayat dunya, the people who chase it, the people who worship it, the people who fight and they claw and they scratch for it, you'll find that they are very ignoble people. Lying, deceiving, cheating, killing, they're murderers. And they don't care about anything except for dunya. And that's the golden rule of politics. There are no eternal friends or enemies. There's no such thing as you're my friend forever, you're my enemy forever. It's only interests. That's the only thing that serves them. So he said, these are the three things that have caused me to step away from the hayat al-dunya. If you ask a person, why aren't you friends with such and such no more? Why don't you mess with such and such? I saw this, I experienced that, and we had this, so I had to what? I had to step away. And of course, there are other reasons as well why a person will practice zuhud and taqallul, having less possessions from the worldly life. And from that is that it doesn't exist. It doesn't last long. It's not going to stay forever, let alone the pain and the agony and the suffering that comes from attachments to the worldly dunya. And of course, that's a very long discussion with regards to attachment and renunciation, Islam versus other faiths and other denominations and schisms within Islam. You can't own nothing, you can't have nothing. All right? And like I mentioned before about Buddhism, and one of their main principles is that attachment is a cause for suffering. And to a large extent in Islam, that's true. To a large extent. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala explains that the one who attaches his heart to other than Allah is going to be punished not once, not twice, but 3 times. He's going to be punished before he gets the thing that he covets and desires and wants. Number 2, he's punished when he gets it because he's afraid of it being taken away from him. And number 3, when that thing is finally taken away from him, he's what? He's punished. So just think about this. How long a woman waits to have a child? She's suffering because she can't have children. People around her have children. Her parents are asking her, what's wrong? Why can't you have a child? A man can't have a child. He's barren and sterile. He's attached to, I have to have a son. I have to have a daughter. I have to have an heir. I have to have kids. And then when he gets a son, he's worried about losing his son. He's paranoid. He spoils his son. He doesn't discipline his son because he waited so long to get his son. And finally, when his son dies, when his son is struck by a car, some tragedy happens, his son goes away, he's now what? He's punished again. And the same applies to money, getting money, having money, and losing that money. The same applies to a beautiful, charming woman. You do so much attention. People make shirk for a woman. They make sihr just to get a woman's love. And then when he gets the woman's love, what happens? He's afraid and he's scared that she's going to wake up one day and says, I don't like you anymore. And she's going to leave him. And last but not least, when she does leave him, or she dies, or they break up, it's more pain into his heart. So the concept of attachments, worldly possessions, wanting and needing and being connected to things in general, that is an Islamic principle, is that they're a means of suffering. But other religions and other faiths, Buddhism and other religions, they take it too far. They take it too far. They don't realize is that the one who created pleasure is the one who created pain. And Allah created death and life. Okay? Allah is the one who causes us to smile, and He's the one who causes others to laugh. So there's a wisdom in a person experiencing pain and a person suffering, and a person having something and something being taken away from them. The point or the moral of the story is that the hayat al-dunya, if you sit back and if you think about it and you look at it, you'll find different reasons why it's worthless and why it isn't worthy for a person to spend his life chasing. And one of those reasons is people are extremely treacherous, and the loyalty really doesn't exist. And the people who are the founders, the maintainers, the rulers of the worldly affairs, they're very nasty, dark people. And if you don't believe that, then just sit around them. Be in their company for 5 minutes, do a business transaction with them, this CEO, the person of this corporation, and you'll see really, really, really dark stuff come from them. All types of things. They have no limits for success. And because they are the shuraka of the hayat al-dunya. Khair, inshallah, as I said before, this is a very long chapter, and we can go on and on and on, explaining and expounding on this. This is only a few things, and perhaps inshallah ta'ala in the next class we'll mention and read more what the author explained. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best, and with Him is all success.
It's a nice school, but